come through in the clutch, leaving all these haters crushed. Take a look in the mirror, only competition's us.
All right, we're live. So this is Los's Notes number 10. Today we've got a special guest. His name is Michael Ward. Everybody knows him as my right-hand man here at Clutch Studio, but he also has his own startup, and it's called CardGo. So I'll let him introduce himself and tell you a little bit about his business.
Yeah, my name is Michael Ward, and like Carlos said, not only do I work and help out at Clutch Studio, but I'm also an aspiring entrepreneur with a startup called CardGo. Essentially at CardGo, our goal is to allow young people and millennials to use a credit card just like a debit card. Doing so allows them to build their credit history, maximize rewards, add security, but also avoid debt and avoid the interest rates that eat up so many people. So super excited to get going. Been in the works for a long time, kind of snaking around in the grass, but when we do go live, it'll be big. So very excited.
Awesome, powerful. Well, thanks for being here as always, man. Anybody that we bring on Los's Notes is always somebody that's near and dear to my heart. Everybody can attest to the fact that Michael's really close to me and the team here at Clutch Studios. So proud to have you on here again, bro, and just want to get into some nitty gritty stuff, man. You're next to me at all times throughout the weeks as we're putting in work out here, putting our head down and just, trying to stay as humble as possible, but continuing to hustle hard. You've been able to see the ins and outs of this type of stuff, man. So I want to dig into it a little bit. Before I do, I want to make sure you guys follow the Snapchats, follow the Instagram, follow the YouTube channel, subscribe to it. Make sure on Facebook you guys are sharing this content if it's something that's relevant to you or anybody else around you, man. So I think first off, on Los's Notes, I normally ask questions to those individuals that are business owners or individuals that are aspiring entrepreneurs. My first question, how hard do you think it is to become an entrepreneur?
I think to become an entrepreneur is really easy because all that actually is a title. So to say, hey, I'm an entrepreneur, which is why I threw quotations up earlier when I said that I was an aspiring entrepreneur, it's very easy to do. I think to become a successful entrepreneur and to run a business that makes money and that is successful is extremely difficult. And I don't know if my perceptions or if my understanding of that was what it is now. 9-10 months ago when I first really, engulfed myself into Carlos's business and into Clutch Studio. So when you get to see what a growth stage startup goes through, because at its essence, that's still what Clutch Studio is, you get to see how difficult it is. It's a lot of late nights. It's a lot of incredibly tough conversations. It's a lot of figuring things out on the fly. And that can weigh on people, but I also think that's what makes it so enjoyable. So just like every ride with no math to it, there's highs and lows. The highs are really high, the lows are really low, but it's kind of the ride you sign up for when you get into it. So.
That's right. Yeah, I think in that question, if we were to ball it all up and to answer it kind of the way that you've been putting it is, it's easy to be motivated to want to be an entrepreneur. It's easy to want to get into business. It's easy to say you're going to make that jump and start. I think it's the execution that ultimately is going to determine if you're going to be an entrepreneur, which is eventually a businessman, or a businesswoman. So hopefully that kind of summed it up a little bit. It's those late nights, those long days, those difficult conversations are things that are just part of the process, in my eyes, right? I believe a lot of individuals are not expecting it, and I think it's awesome that guys like us are able to see it, feel it, be in the midst of it, but then also share it, right? I don't see any other way to do it besides what I know. And I think, with our vlogs, with Los's Notes, with the social channels, showing people the ride. Hey, who knows? We'll be on top today and tomorrow, who knows where we'll be. But just to be able to show people the journey, man, I think is a really, really big deal, man. So, all right, well, next question I think that I'd like to bring up to Michael is, in your eyes, what is it that you would tell an entrepreneur or a person who's an aspiring entrepreneur that they need to focus on first before anything? Is it purchasing swag? Is it having a logo? What would you answer to that?
No, I'd say number one, and again, these are things that I've learned on my own. These aren't things that, like I said, my perception before kind of would have thought. But you know, it's real exciting to go get a logo and to throw a decal on a car or to throw it on a T-shirt. But I think what really matters in the first step to get started is to one, find a customer, or to two, find someone who's willing to pay you to use whatever it is you're putting out there. I don't care if that's a T-shirt brand. I don't care if that's a technology-based mobile app. I don't care if you're selling plumbing. Whatever the product or the service that you're delivering is or trying to start a business around, you have to have users and you have to have revenue. And if you don't have those, you're really operating on a hope and a dream, and I don't think you're in a very good position to last too long if that's the case.
That's awesome, man. I think for me, one of the things that I've always tried to make sure and stay conscious of is I can get caught up in my own business, in my own life, and not have time for the things like these to share. But I've always held true to what it was that got me started in this industry, which was to give back, right? Mm-hmm. To give back and to bring value to those, whether they're clients or whether they're employees or team members. And I gotta remind myself of doing that at all times. Mm-hmm. So some people take it as, putting these things on social could be feeding some other type of thing, but ultimately what it boils down to is showcasing that it's not easy, even when you make it, right? Mm-hmm. So some people think, well, as long as I get a customer, that's it. Once I got the customer, once I got investment, once I got something, that's all I had to do, right? And ultimately you've been able to see throughout the business that whether it's 100,000, whether it's 1 million, just because you get that doesn't mean that life is gonna coast by, right? What would you say, my third question would be, what would you say for individuals who say they just want to make their first million? What have you been able to see once you get to that level? What happens then?
The bigger the stage, the bigger the problems. It's like, striking out 3 times in a minor league game doesn't hurt as bad as striking out 3 times in the World Series. So the bigger the stage, the bigger the stakes, the bigger the issues and the more stressful it is. So I've got to see this whole brand and this whole idea of Clutch, like you said, evolve from being in kind of an older rundown building to what it is now, and seeing that, all that stuff is cool. All the brick walls and the TVs and all that, that's awesome. But to be in a position to have those things means, swallowing a lot of pills that you don't really want to take. So bigger deals, bigger clients, bigger paychecks is bigger headaches, bigger problems, and bigger knots in your stomach. So that's kind of my takeaway from being around it.
Most definitely. I could agree with that 100%. I think just like you said, those highs are really high. Those lows are extremely low. What you realize is when you're winning, people are grinning, right? When you're not, you've got the opposite. And it's okay. You've got to ultimately realize that you have to love what it is that you do. Otherwise, you would not be doing it for a very long time. Yeah, so, exactly. That execution, that discipline, that learning, that ability to be able to pick up on those cues is huge. And that's why when you hear these cliche sayings, when you hear these entrepreneurial quotes, they go back to real, true, honest facts and feedback from individuals who have been through it. But I think sometimes you've got to really take a look at what that word really means. So this week and last week, as individuals have seen us continue to tout, stay humble, hustle hard. I've had to swallow those this past couple of weeks, man. I've had to continue to try to stay as humble as possible. And the hustle hard portion of it, I mean, you can attest to it, man. We've had to hustle hard these past couple of weeks, man. So you have to love it. Congrats to you, man, on continuously pursuing your dream. And just know that from the bottom of my heart, man, I'm ultimately the one that's going to know and be there for you whenever you're going up to the top or whenever you hit those lows there, man. So I appreciate you being here today, man. I appreciate you being on Los's Notes. The feedback that we're giving to individuals are just things that we've learned in our lives. It's not that it's perfect. It's not that it's the right answer. But hey, we're just sharing with those who really truly want to hear it and for those who really truly need help, man. Clutch Studio, Los to Workaholic, Michael Ward, CardGo. Yep.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much. Yeah.
No problem.
We out.
Let me show you how to do this, son. I put my heart and my soul in this, is 2 in 1. A lot of people out there thinking, know where you can run. Clutch studs in the building, if you can do it bad, you can